Let's welcome Mindaugas Maciulis to the Open Tech Talks.tv. Welcome, Mindaugas.
Yeah, thank you, Kashif. It's good to be here.
Thank you so much. And as you said, I can call you Min, right?
Yeah, that's what most people call me. So my friends call me Min, so feel free to do the same.
All right. Thank you so much. So, for audience, if you can give a short brief about yourself, where are you based? And that will help us to start the conversation and set the context.
Okay, great. So I am based in Boston and I'm the founder of Strategic AI Advisors. So we are a company that specializes in solving business problems leveraging AI and automation.
Okay. And how long you been doing this?
So I founded the company a couple of years ago, and that was from the need that I saw that kept coming up constantly with different business owners that I was involved with. And I've been in business world for the last 20 years, Kashif, in different leadership roles, operations, really focus on scaling companies. And couple of years ago, all the new people that I met in business world, they all had the same question, which is, where do I start with AI? And for me, that was the trigger point that this is a great opportunity to start helping people solve that problem. And that's how the strategic AI advisors came to life.
Okay. And how is it going?
Good. We've been having a lot of interest, especially from we work with a lot of small businesses, and especially in the services
Okay.
industries. So tons of customers from real estate, from home services businesses, and we consistently see the same type of problems, right? And which is why I think it's so great to share this experience, because many times it's not about technology, right, itself. We start with business strategy to understand where people struggling, where the business is struggling, and how we get to where they need to go. And many times, AI automation could help that, right? It's not always the case, but in many cases, we can use that technology to help different businesses. So it's been very interesting, especially in the real estate world, residential real estate world, where we get a lot of traction.
Okay. And is it something where it's not only focusing on business strategy, or it's maybe on AI strategy for organizations, how they're gonna start about that? What are the key pillars? So are you guys involved in helping or shaping the AI strategy for different customers?
We are, but it still starts for us with a business strategy, right? And then once we understand where the business needs to go, uh, we don't want to just implement AI solutions without truly
Right.
understanding the needs, right? So once we understand that first piece that's where we start breaking down every workflow into different smaller steps. Then using our methodologies, we break it down into steps, automation, training, and so on. The big key elements, I would say, Kashif, that there is a lot of talk about AI implementation that fails, right? And
Right.
we see this as well. And the challenge is it's people's adoption, right? It's not even the technology itself, but the adoption and how it's being used is where the challenge is. So we definitely, when we work with new clients, we look at their team composition, who's involved. We understand their mindsets. We understand what they need to understand about technology and AI specifically. Then we
Okay.
look at their process, and then we look at the tools, right? So it's kind of the three-step approach.
Okay, all right. Now you mentioned the AI project pilots and are failing, and it is quite. I think the percentage is quite high. Even only the recent study says I think only 5% are achieving it, right, and the 95% are going into failure. Now, maybe for listeners, if someone is going through very early testing it, piloting it, or maybe just trying some use cases, so any tips for them, that what are the process or maybe methodology they can follow?
Yeah, so definitely. So, start with the processes where you're either bleeding money or you're just very inefficient in the process, right? So let's take a let's say a home service business, right? And uh, So, for example, some of the challenges that home services businesses deal with is lead generation and then follow up through that process, right? So, in where AI can help is, once leads come in, and they can come in from ads, from just Google business pages, all different sources. But most home services businesses struggle to follow up with them because they don't have either people on standby answering the calls or emails. It's off hours for the business, all different challenges, right? So in this case, AI voice solution or even a simple chatbot could be very useful to capture those leads. Because if those leads don't get immediate attention, they will call their competition. And that's where
Hmm.
you lose a lot of potential clients. We see this as a big challenge in real estate specifically.
Okay.
Real estate agents and brokers, generate tons of leads. It comes from so many different sources, from Zillow, from Realtor to ads, you name it,
Right.
referrals and all. But so many of them fall through the cracks because if there is no system in place to
Right.
understand the journey of those leads, and they will go through it. Most agents are busy doing so many different things and they will not follow up on them. So having AI that connects to their lead generation platforms to engage initially to understand what prospects are looking for, qualify them, and then once they're ready to actually engage with the agent, that's when the transfer happens, and then the real estate agents can actually do their job much more efficiently.
Okay. And while you are working with these customers or real estate or maybe irrespective of any industry, so have you developed any framework or a model which you can say, okay, here is my model, or we practiced it, and you follow that and you will get XY outcomes.
Yes, it's a system that we developed. There's for real estate specifically, we have three different tools that we
Okay.
leverage, and the combination of those three tools is where the magic happens.
Okay.
So one tool, Kashif, is focusing specifically on lead generation. So what it
Okay.
does is basically that first process that I described, right? Which is
Right.
generating the leads, engaging with them, following up, nurturing them until they're ready to actually engage with the person. The second piece of it is actually nurturing people that already have been in the system, right? So maybe
Mm-hmm.
they came in. These were the leads that came in a long time ago that got fallen through the cracks. So the CRMs manage that data and consistently understand when to follow up with them to see if they might be ready to engage again. And the third piece, which is actually, I would say, probably the most critical, is the accountability piece. In real estate specifically, one of the challenges is that, again, everyone's so busy, it's so hard to keep up with everyone. And sometimes agents also don't have the right mindset and tools to do the best job that they can. So the accountability piece, it keeps them engaged in what they need to do on a daily basis, right? And AI looks at their calls, grades their calls, understands where they're lacking some of the skills, coaches them through the process, and that helps them to be engaged and convert more of those leads that the first two systems generated. That also gives visibility to the brokers, which can see how well their teams are performing and can be addressing issues when they come up much faster.
All right. All right. Now, so that's the process, three-step process you shared it. But definitely when you're talking with the customers, there are also a adoption challenges. And those are coming from maybe bottom to top or maybe from executives to down. So is there any biggest or maybe some challenges which you are observing?
Yeah, it's a huge challenge, Kashif. Adoption in general is probably the biggest challenge that I see right now. Everyone has mental capacity, right, on how much they can do and how much they can learn. And
Right.
when you bring tons of different AI solutions or any solutions, you know, people get overwhelmed, and when they're overwhelmed, they just don't do anything, right? And that's part of the issue. So when we do that initial strategy at the leadership level, we look at what the companies do right now, right? Everything from what tech stack they have, what type of training they provide, what kind of support they provide, And once we understand that, we actually, instead of adding more stuff, we try first to get rid of a lot of things that don't add value, right? Both value from point of results, right, and time efficiency, but also cost. And once we take a big part of it, then we look at how to streamline with new solutions. But the first step really starts with that deduction process. And because adding more stuff to anyone is not helpful. Most people, that adoption is where it really becomes even a bigger issue.
And okay, so maybe let's compare it with the generative AI, right? Now, there is a mindset being developed that, okay, if I have access to Gen AI, it's mean I have access to the knowledge, right? And then I don't need these advisory, I don't need these external help. I can go today to ChatGPT or Gemini and I can ask whatever I want to build a strategy or whatever I want to build a process and I can get that. Is there something you are observing that's developing within the organizations and how the market is leading towards?
Yeah, to be honest, that was my concern. I thought being in the advisory services and implementation as well, we thought that would be a big risk to the business.
Right,
But in fact, we see kind of the opposite effect, which is interesting because people know that they can get a lot of things done with ChatGPT, for
right,
example. But there is still some technical, not technical necessarily, but the business understanding combined with technical understanding is what makes you get better results from any LLMs. And that's where most people still struggle, right? And we actually train them to help with that process. Unless you understand how to properly provide context, connect to the right data, and understand how to ask the right questions, you may not get the result you're looking for that would actually help your business, right? Everyone can get very generic answers from ChatGPT, but that's not what most people are looking for. Most people need like very specific strategies that truly make a difference. And the only way to get that is layering AI on the right context, right? And I always say data right now is and context is the gold in AI era. And without providing that the right way, you're not going to get good results. And that's where we come in. We help you understand from your business point of view, right? What's available, how the data is structured, what data is available, and layer AI on it to help answer those questions. So from practical point of view, Kashif, I think the strategy right now in training is even more critical than it's ever been. And, we use AI ourselves to help with
right.
that, right? To model everything and understand how to help different clients. So it's a combination of both that you still need to have the human and technology partnership.
Right. Okay. So you come on board, you build a strategy, you worked with a business strategy, building an AI and everything and put who's executing it?
So I have a lot of partners. These are
Okay.
pre-vetted partners, developers, specialists in different areas and sometimes even industries that I bring into various projects. So depending on the need for the client, right? Because we are full service solution. So once we understand that strategy and the roadmap is built, we will bring experts that are specializing in those certain areas. We'll hold their hands through the whole process so they understand how to implement those solutions.
Okay. Have you observed any customer where did you went and then you saw they are ahead of even curve? They're already doing something on Gen AI, already very active on use cases selection or maybe on adoption. So have you seen some maturity? Some customers have a better maturity with respect to generative AI adoption, or it's too
Yes,
early?
yeah, it's still, I would say, still kind of early. There's definitely a lot more awareness and conversations happening. I think we're, at the higher enterprise level, we see definitely a lot of requests in general. So people understand what they can do, right? So, of course, the big consulting companies get a lot of demand to provide those services. The problem with enterprises, there's a big process of everything from approvals to getting the right people involved and so on. where I see more traction happening right now in SMB space, because they actually can make decisions faster,
Okay.
pilot things faster, and they actually have a benefit right now that most enterprise customers don't have because of all the complexities, bureaucracy, and IT and security and everything else. Small, medium-sized businesses have an advantage right now uh, to quickly test different pilots, see what's working, optimize it, and keep going right through the whole process.
All right. So maybe give us some examples or share some stories of working with different customers which are very inspiring and give some takeaways for our audience.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the clients I'm working with, we'll go back to real estate in this case. They're one of the leading real estate brokers in New England. Most brokers, when they think about growing their companies, they focus on headcount because headcount,
Right.
bringing more agents, bring more sales, brings more commissions. The problem with that model, which is somewhat old model now, is that, you know, adding more agents adds more complexity to
Right.
the whole operation. You have to manage them, you have to coach them, you have to provide all kinds of support. Um, and there's a lot of course, negotiation on the commission structures as well as retention is another big issue because agents like to jump from one place to another depending on who offers biggest commission. So
Right.
the whole model is very difficult because brokers, even though if they have hundreds or even thousands agents, they struggle to make a big profit because of all these complexities. Well, when one of my clients that I'm working with, we took a different approach. We didn't focus on adding more people. This company is actually very small. It's only 14 agents. So it's relatively small, but it's doing over 400 transactions a year, where on average, most agents do like 3 or 4 transactions a year. This company is doing almost 30 transactions per agent, right? So
Right.
the how we achieved this was combining those systems. We again, we looked at their tech stack. We looked at how they generating the leads, what happened to those leads, put AI in place to follow up with them, and now they have a system in place that does 80% of that work is done by AI.
Right. Mm.
The real estate agents themselves are able to work with a lot more clients at the same time and get more deals done that way. So they're
Okay.
super efficient. They're also happy they're staying with the broker because they're consistently getting new leads. So it's creating this great fly wheel effect for everyone.
Okay. So maybe now relate this example to if someone is not doing anything on an AI, are they into some risks?
If they're not doing anything, are there
Yeah, they
risks?
are not
Yeah,
doing anything.
the risk is um, you know, the risk is getting so behind that you might be out of business at some point. I think right now AI is still an advantage if you're doing something with it. You
Right.
might be building an advantage, right, in the industry. I think that's short term because more and more people are doing something, so it's not going to
Right.
be an advantage, right? So, and if you're not doing anything, then you're definitely getting behind. And you don't need to completely change everything, right? Start with small steps, understand what's possible. I think there's two ways to look at AI implementation. One is really more of augmentation, how it can just improve what you're already doing,
Right.
right? And then the second phase is more transformative. Like how do you actually change your whole business model using AI, right? And those are two very different approaches. But again, if you're not doing anything right now, I highly suggest start because the risk of not doing something is much greater, I think, than the risk of doing something with it, even a small pilot. You can wait till other people try it and other businesses try and fail and figure things out, but you're always going to be behind the 8 ball, right? So you might spend maybe less money, but you're not going to get the competitive advantage that other companies will have against you if they start
Okay.
earlier.
Okay. Any lessons for them how they can start from day zero?
Yeah, I mean, um, I'm happy to help. call me, but there's tons of different channels where you can honestly go to ChatGPT and say, "This is a problem I'm having in my business, and help me understand how I can leverage AI." Start brainstorming with it. Um, and there's simple solutions, and there's much more technical solutions with full integrations and automation. But don't get overwhelmed by that. Just start with simple understanding what can be done and what business problem you actually is trying to solve.
Okay, so now maybe there is another challenge. It could be not with any small scale businesses, but these large scale organizations, they are running very quite ecosystem of IT systems, applications, everything. And this taking large language models is not an easy task for them. So is there any piece of advice for them that how they can minimize those overheads, and then they can also look forward that yes, that's the way I should go ahead with some piloting early use case.
Yeah, so you know, I typically don't work with enterprises that much for that reason alone. You know, because there's so many complexities there, right? The
Right.
security, the IPs, um, so I would say for them again, starting again with a business challenge, right? Understand where integration overlaps with having the right data sources, right? Clean data. Because without the right data, again, there's not going to be great solutions. So for enterprise level, especially, that becomes such a big concern, right? So start with data, understand what's available, what problems you want to solve, and start with a small pilot, right? Don't try to change the world. Small pilot, one area of the business, understand what the value creation is that you're trying to do, and just test it until you understand what needs to be done, optimized, and then move on to the next level.
Okay. Now coming back to from a talent point of view, is there a easy availability of trained talent on AI available in the market? Is it easy to access?
Yes, I would say so. Right now, there's a lot of great, very technical people from, it's interesting. Part of the reason why I started this company because, um, I was surrounded by a lot of business people that did not know how to solve business problems with technology. And on the other hand, I was also involved with a lot of technical people that had the capabilities of solving almost anything with
Hmm.
technology. They
Right.
didn't really understand what problems to solve.
Right.
Um, so I got exposed to a lot of great communities where there's a lot of just tons of great talent. A lot of it actually is coming from, there's a lot of tons of great talent from Eastern Europe, great talent from India, and great talent from some of the South American countries. So there's tons of different talents as well as the U.S. right where I don't see that being an issue. It's more of really diagnosing what problems to solve and bringing that level of experience.
Okay. That sounds very, very good. All right. So maybe before we conclude, if someone want to reach out to you or may want to get more information, where they should.
Yeah. So the best way to reach me is through my website, which is strategicaiadvisors.com. And there's a booking link there where you can set up a call with me to understand what you're looking for, what problems you're facing, so we can diagnose that more specifically and see if there is a fit to help you. So that's the best way to reach me. And
Thank you so much. Thank you for joining and sharing your learning with the community, and that help them to go for piloting maybe a new use case or maybe how to adopt AI into the organization.
yeah, well, thank you, Kashif. I appreciate you having me on.
Thank you.